There's absolutely no surprise to me why dieting is so hard for so many people. It's pretty much an uphill battle in this modern world, and for many reasons. And the first thing is really because there's so many easy to access, easy to eat, high calorie foods that are just everywhere in your face, with food marketing in your face, and everything is just at you. It's like, okay, we'll go check out this special at this store and this special at this restaurant, and just go ahead and in the grocery store, it's like designed to sell you a bunch of food that you don't need, but it just looks so good. So you got to try it at least. Any of the new things that are coming out, any of the commercials you see, whether you have TV or not, somehow you come across them. And it's just like all this food marketing, and it's just got to try it, right? I've fell into this, and I figured out this whole dieting thing like 12 years ago. And now I want to help people navigate this craziness as well. But the point is, like, it's so easy to get these foods in your grocery stores and fast food restaurants all over the place when you're on lunch break for work. Like, it's just so easy to get all these foods that it's not a hard challenge. It's not a challenge at all to go ahead and eat 4,000 calories a day without even thinking about it sometimes. And maybe not every day, but it's not that difficult, because I've given this example before, but having 2 breakfast sandwiches, a couple hash browns, and a drink for breakfast is not that much. Like, some people may not be able to eat that, sure, but a lot of people can. And it's so easy to put down 1,000 calories for breakfast, and then for lunch you have a sub sandwich that's 800 to 1,500 calories depending on what you have on that. And then if you have a normal dinner and maybe dessert after, it's easy to put on, like, that could be easy 3,000 calories right there, like, without even thinking about it. And if you have a little chips and snacks and maybe even a protein bar because you're fitness conscious and like doing all these different things, then it's like just add on calories so easy, especially if you have like a movie night with the family, or if you go out to the movies, forget it, that's a whole nother game. But there's just so many things moving and working against you to essentially make it easy to gain a bunch of weight. And that's just part of it, because you have this problem where it's so easy to overeat on a consistent basis, and you gain like a few pounds a month over the course of like 5 or 6 years and just pack it on. It's just so easy to gain that when you're like, oh, I probably should do something about this, then you pop online, you go try to figure out how to diet, or maybe you do something that worked for you when you're younger, or maybe you just do like a friend's workout, or just whatever information you come across, and you have to go by with what you hear and what you know and what sounds like it makes sense to you. And so you go ahead and try it, and maybe it'll work for a little bit, but maybe it's also not sustainable, which is why it hasn't worked for you yet. And if it's not sustainable, meaning like you don't think you can do it for a long time, and you don't do it for a long time, it doesn't even matter if it is the absolute best diet in the world, if it's the absolute best workout program in the world. If you're not able to stick to it, it doesn't really matter. And a lot of the cases, at least people that I've talked to are not fully understanding what works with dieting, because they don't understand the principles behind why the diets work in the first place. So a lot of people I've talked to, especially when keto is really getting very popular, people would try it and they'd lose weight, and then they're like, oh, I have no energy, I don't really feel that good, like my digestive system's all messed up. And that's a big problem, because come to find out, at least a couple of these people that I was talking to, they weren't eating hardly enough calories. Like, they were way severely under eating, because I know other people on keto that perform really well. And sure, there are like individualistic metabolic differences and stuff from person to person, and diet preferences and the actual specific foods that they're eating, making sure that they're getting enough protein but not too much to put them in like out of ketosis, because protein spikes insulin sometimes more than carbohydrates do. So that can kind of throw a weird balance when it actually breaks down the muscle fiber into glucose. I can go way too far into that, but my point is, like, if keto works for one person, it may not work for another person. And if, for example, like the bodybuilding style diet, some people will genuinely like eating that way. It makes them feel good, simple, and all that. But then some other people are like, I could never eat these same meals every day. It just makes my mind melt with how boring it is. And that's a big thing, a big factor. So we also have to find out like how to navigate that crazy food marketing, essentially, and then also navigate how to figure out a diet that works for you, but also just putting it all together and making it make sense. And what I've come to find out is it really comes down to understanding the principles behind why dieting works. And it could all be boiled down into a single word or term, that's calorie deficit. But even that doesn't tell you nearly enough. It's like, well, what is a calorie deficit? How do you get in a calorie deficit? How do you even know if you actually are in a calorie deficit? And the best way I have found to do all this is figure out your total daily energy expenditure, which I've come to find out a lot of the calculators online are also not very good, but they give you a good estimated starting point. So there's, I can't think of one off the top of my head because I've used like 4 or 5 now. But if you just look up total daily energy expenditure, you can get a rough idea of where to start. You put in your stats, you put in your information, and you estimate based on what you expect yourself to work out and roughly how intense you expect yourself to work out. And if you do my program in particular, you're somewhere in that moderately active category or so, which is a 3-day, but it's pretty intense for what it is. Short but intense, but it gives you a good baseline for that if you have a more active job, like you're not just sitting around all day, or if you're like you base it on your actual lifestyle to the best of your ability. But that's where you just get the starting point. So what we're going to do from there is subtract 300 to 500 calories from that number and plug that into MyFitnessPal. I definitely need to put together a full actual MyFitnessPal tutorial. But if you look up the 10-minute diet hack video that's on my channel, just scroll down to the 10-minute one. That gives you a pretty good idea of what to do. But I'm going to go ahead and put together a better full tutorial on it. And when you plug that in there, what you're going to do is you're going to eat that amount of calories, the total daily energy expenditure, let's just say for the sake of this one, minus 500, and eat that amount every single day. We're going to track protein, try to get that at least 120 grams, somewhere in that ballpark, and that's a minimum that I would shoot for. And we're going to try to do that every day for just at least 2 weeks. And what we're going to also do is we're going to weigh ourselves on the scale every single day at the same time in the same conditions. So pretty much wake up, go to the bathroom, hop on the scale, write down the number, and see where you are after 2 weeks of eating at that number every single day. Because what we need to find out is the average weight across the week. So week 1, you have your average. Week 2, you have your average. Did it go up? Then we need to probably cut calories, because any diet you start is usually going to have you drop quite a bit of water weight. So if it goes down, then what we're going to do is see how much down. If it's down like a few pounds, we're kind of in the right spot. If it's down like 5 to 8 to maybe even 10 pounds, which I've seen happen, then we might want to reconsider, and also factoring in how hungry you are. You're going to be a little hungry on a diet, but if you're like ravenous, then we may want to increase the calories. We're just trying to find that starting point. And there's only so much I can do through the camera here and trying to explain the exact way to get the calorie number, but this is a good starting point. And if you notice, I'm not saying what foods you should eat, because that's going to be up to you. If you can make those foods that you like to eat fit that number and try to get as much protein as you can in that number of total calories, you're going to be able to create your own diet. You're not going to have to eat these scripted meals, do meal prep, do any particular combination of foods, essentially just fitting the calories, fitting the foods you like in those calories, which long term, after you get the hang of this calorie tracking thing, is going to be the most sustainable thing you have, as long as you just go ahead and plan each day. And I can go further into the actual specifics of all this, but that's really it. That's what you can do to not only take back control of your diet and start getting forward towards getting results. And it's going to take a bit of work in the beginning. It's not going to be just some easy thing that you just, well, some people are just like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, cool, I can do that. But in either case, like, you have to build the skills and being able to like be honest about what you're tracking and track it every single day, and make sure that you're being like, you're not missing little snacks that you have, and just making sure you log every single thing. So that way you can understand not just like how to lose weight, but how food works in your body. And you can also down the road be more cognizant of how food makes you physically feel. And then you may choose not to eat certain foods because of them not making you feel good. And also it's like, well, why would you want to waste calories on something that doesn't make you feel good when you can fit something that makes you feel good whether physically, mentally, or both ideally, in that calorie number, lose weight, look better, feel better in due time. So that's what I had to share with there. No surprise, dieting is hard, but hopefully this can kind of point you in the right direction. Go ahead and check out more videos on my channel. I do go deeper into different topics on how to do this. And in the meantime, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and make this happen. You got this, and I'll see you in the next one.